Hello! I trust that you are doing well, and I hope you had a good day, or that you're having a good day, or that you're having a good evening, and that you had a good day. Either way, I hope that you're good. So I'm going to continue with reading from Art and Fear by David Bayles, and the next section after acceptance and what was the other one? And admiration is called Finding Your Work. Then there's a quote by Heraclitus which goes, "You could not step twice into the same river, for other waters are ever flowing onto you." Okay. The world displays perfect neutrality on whether we achieve any outward manifestation of our inner desires, but not art. Art is exquisitely responsive. Nowhere is feedback so absolute as in the making of art. The work we make, even if unnoticed and undesired by the world, vibrates in perfect harmony to everything we put into it or withhold from it. In the outside world, there may be no reaction to what we do. In artwork, there is nothing but reaction. The breathtakingly wonderful thing about reaction is its truthfulness. Look at your work and it tells you how it is when you hold back or when you embrace. When you are lazy, your art is lazy. When you hold back, it holds back. When you hesitate, it stands there staring, hands in its pockets. But when you commit, it comes on like blazes. Could have read that a little bit better. Anyway, let's go on. Recently, out of pleasure alone, an accomplished visual artist took up dance. Okay, random fact. Now, I haven't properly danced in quite a few years. I only just do a few dance moves privately in my kitchen with my headphones playing certain music. But anyway, I used to dance. I did ballet and modern dance, which is like contemporary dance, like throughout my primary and high school. For many years, and I performed on many stages. I did exams. I loved it, and I still do. Although when it comes to ballet, that has like some interesting stories there that affected my later life. But anyway, it was that's a story for another day. But anyway. So let's go. This computer, what is it doing? Okay. Recently, out of pleasure alone, an accomplished visual artist took up dance. Never before experiencing an art form so purely physical, she threw herself into it. Her involvement became intense. More classes, more practice, more commitment, longer hours. She excelled. Then one day, several months into it, her instructor asked her to consider joining a performing troupe. She froze. Her dancing fell apart. She became stiff and self-conscious. She got serious, or serious in a different way. She didn't feel she was good enough. And her dancing promptly was not good enough. She got frustrated and depressed enough that she had to quit for a few weeks to sort things out. More recently, back to work on new but shaky ground, she's having to teach herself to enjoy working hard for others at the art she previously enjoyed passionately for herself. In the ideal, that is to say, real artist, fears not only continue to exist, they exist side by side with the desires that complement them, perhaps drive them, certainly feed them. Naive passion, which promotes work done in ignorance of obstacles, becomes, with courage, informed passion, which promotes work done in full acceptance of these obstacles. Wow, that's powerful there. Sure. Foremost among those obstacles is uncertainty. We all know the feeling of finished art that rises from within its uncertainties. Music, with its dense structure and built-in abstraction, offers the clearest examples. In performances of really wonderful music, there's an ongoing tension between where the musical line is and where we know it needs to go. We're uncertain momentarily just how the fugue can be resolved, even as simultaneously we know it will be. What is more difficult to describe is the state of mind held by the artist while working on the piece. Most artists keep a well-rehearsed speech close at hand for fielding the familiar request to explain a finished piece. But if asked to describe how it felt during the art making, well, that often comes out a bit like Dorothy trying to describe the land of Oz to Auntie Em. Between the initial idea and the finished piece lies a gulf we can see across, but never fully chart. The truly special moments in art making lie in those moments when concept is converted to reality. Those moments when the gulf is being crossed. Precise descriptions fail, but it connects to that wonderful condition in which work seems to make itself, and the artist serves only as a guide or mediator, allowing all these things to be possible. All things considered, in most matters of art, it is more nourishing to be a maker than a viewer. But not in all matters. When it comes to the range of art we can usefully engage, some benefits that flow freely to art viewers that remain tantalizingly inaccessible to art makers. I did not read that sentence very well at all, and I'm being honest about that. When it comes to the range of art we can usefully engage, some benefits that flow freely to art viewers remain tantalizingly inaccessible to art makers. As a listener, you can be transported to authentic ecstasy and catharsis by performance of the Bach B minor Mass, but as a maker you cannot compose even the most trivial piece of authentic Baroque music. As a viewer, you can feel the charge of the presence of Plains Indian medicine bundle, but as a 20th century artist, you could not begin to make one yourself. Your reach as a viewer is vastly greater than your reach as a maker. Your reach as a viewer is vastly greater than your reach as a maker. That is very interesting. I'd love to hear a comment on that. Your reach as a viewer is vastly greater than your reach as a maker. The art you can experience may have originated 1,000 miles away or 1,000 years ago, but the art you can make is irrecoverably bound to the times and places of your life, limited by the very ground on which you stand. Without a broadly shared belief in the symbolism of the cross and the promise of heaven above, the cruciform design and the towering spires of the great European cathedrals would have made no sense whatsoever. Seen against the vast sweep of history, it is only for brief moments that particular events and beliefs carry the power to compel us to build cathedrals or write fugues. And it's just as likely that a similarly narrow, albeit different, range of beliefs drives all that is authentically available to us in this moment. Decisive works of art participate directly in the fabric of history surrounding their maker. Simply put, you have to be there. The surprising and probably disturbing corollary to this is that we don't learn much about making art from being moved by it. Making art is bound by where we are, and the experience of art we have as viewers is not a reliable guide to where we are. As viewers, we readily experience the power of ground on which we cannot stand. Yet that very experience can be so compelling that we may feel most honor bound to make art that recaptures that power. Or more dangerously, feel tempted to use the same techniques, the same subjects, the same symbols as appear in the artwork, in the work that aroused our passion, to borrow in effect a charge from another time and place. It's not hard to track the source of such desire. Our most personal histories hold crystalline memories of absorption into evocative work. Sometimes such moments are part of why we became artists, and the works that moved us take on a heroic importance. I can remember too, within one heartbeat, the moment I first saw an Edward Weston print. As I was walking the dim hallway that leads to the rare book room of the UCLA library, I glanced up and saw this photograph. I stopped walking. Confusion? It was unlike anything else I'd ever seen. It was so much more, something, than other photographs, particularly my photographs. It was different in kind. In that instant, an unbidden distinction formed in my gut. There were now two kinds of photographs in the world. The one before me, on the wall, and the rest. That photograph was mine to experience, but neither it nor anything like it was mine to make. Yet it took a decade to dispel the gnawing feeling that my work should do what that work had done. And more years still before I thought to question where the power of such art resided. In the maker, in the artwork, in the viewer. If indeed, for any given time, only a certain sort of work resonates with life, then that is the work you need to be doing in that moment. If you try to do some other work, you will miss your moment. Indeed, our own work is so inextricably tied to time and place that we cannot recapture even our own aesthetic ground of past times. Try, if you can, to reoccupy your own aesthetic space a few years back, or even a few months. There is no way. You can only plunge ahead, even when that carries with it a bittersweet realization that you have already done your very best work. This heightened self-consciousness was really an issue in earlier times when it seemed self-evident that the artist, and everyone else for that matter, had roots deeply intertwining their culture. Meanings and distinctions embodied within artworks were part of their fabric of everyday life, and the distance from art issues to all other issues was small. The whole population counted as audience when artists' work encompassed everything from icons for the church to utensils for the home. In the Greek amphitheater 2,200 years ago, the plays of Euripides were performed as contemporary theatre before the audience of 14,000. Not so today. Today, art issues have, for the most part, become solely the concern of artists, divorced from and ignored by the larger community. Today, artists often back away from engaging the times and places of their life, choosing instead the largely intellectual challenge of engaging the times and places of art. But it's an artificial construct that begins and ends at the gallery door. Apart from the readership of Art Forum, remarkably few people lose sleep trying to incorporate gender-neutral biomorphic deconstructivism into their personal lives. As Adam Gopnik remarked in The New Yorker, postmodernism art is, above all, post-audience art. In such a setting, artists strain to find material of any human consequence. Under pressure of impending irrelevance, they may begin to fill their canvases and monitors with charged particles of appropriated from other places and times. It is as though art itself confers universality upon its subject, as though in all art, in art, oh my gosh, what is up? Okay, as though in art, all objects automatically retain their power, as though you could incorporate the power of the Plains Indian medicine bundle into your work. That didn't make sense to me, probably not to you. Anyway, or convincingly complete the closing movements to Schubert's unfinished symphony. Today, indeed, you can find urban white artists, people who could not reliably tell a coyote from a German shepherd at 100 feet, casually incorporating the figure of coyote at the trickster into their work, a premise common to all such efforts that power can be borrowed across space and time. It cannot. There is a difference between meaning that is embodied and meaning that is referenced. As someone once said, no one should wear a Greek fisherman's hat except a Greek fisherman. Wow, okay. The ending of that portion was, well, I'm not judging it, but I didn't feel too comfortable reading it, although, I just want to put a little reminder that this is a reading from a book, word for word, and slowly working through it. So as to opinions, I don't always share too much about my opinions, but yeah. Anyway, I hope that God blesses your heart, and if you haven't met him, then I hope that you have a heart encounter with him. And if you haven't tried it yet, I want to recommend that you start to seek to grow spiritually and mature in that way as well. It's a very important aspect of life, and it can truly help you. And yeah, anyway, ciao.